Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live interview with Terri Grigsby, the online math tutor and founder of Tag Tutoring. And I'm really excited to have Terri here today because she's going to share with us how to achieve math success. She's going to tell us how she helps her students and give us advice on how to overcome some of those math challenges that a lot of students and a lot of adults like me face. So welcome, Terri. I'm thrilled you came on today.
Thanks for having me. This will be fun.
It will be fun. Yes, I think I'll learn a lot as we're going along too. If you're new to me, I'm an online academic writing tutor, and I help students excel at writing for college and graduate school. And now you might be wondering why I have a math tutor on. And it's because, surprisingly, I do get asked math questions. I get asked about math and research, and then how to combine that with writing. So I really wanted to expose everyone today to an expert in math, which I am not. Now, Terri has been teaching math for 29 years. She's taught everything from general math to algebra to geometry, trigonometry, pre-calculus, and calculus. Did I get all of that, Terri?
Got them all the entire curriculum I've taught.
Oh my goodness. And she's taught in Italy and Spain and, of course, Portland, Oregon, which is where she lives now. She's a licensed advanced math teacher in Oregon. And she's had her business now, her own online math tutoring business, for almost exactly a year. So it's her first year anniversary, and congratulations on that.
It's been a busy year, but it's been fun learning everything.
Yes, and you've helped a lot of students.
It's been.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been great learning everything. And the one thing I really love about it being online is that I can teach kids from all across the country, not just in the Portland area. So it's fun to have all those different viewpoints from different places around the country. So.
Oh, definitely. That's one of the blessings of this job.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So as you're coming into this, please just let us know where you're watching this from. And as you have questions about math, just type them into the chat, and I'm going to ask them as we go along or at the end. And you can ask them if you're watching the replay too, because I'll refer them to Terri so she can take a look at them later. All right, so let's get started here, Terri.
Okay.
Okay, so my first question, what made you interested in math education?
So when I was in college at Oregon State, I actually was studying to be a doctor. I was in pre-med, and that was my goal from a little kid on. But by the time I got to my junior year, there was just too much people interrupting each other's labs and stuff right before they were due. And I thought in my young mind, well, if the competition's like this now, what's it going to be like later? So I just thought to myself, well, what else could I do besides being a doctor? And all through college, I had been tutoring everybody in calculus anyway, just, my friends and stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll be a math teacher. It just on a whim, just like that. So I became a math teacher. And then I worked a couple years in Oregon teaching, and then I went overseas to Europe. And that's where I really got trained. I worked on the U.S. military bases over there, teaching high school to their kids. And they trained me. They sent me to all these workshops. And of course, over there, where were the workshops? All across Europe. So I was signed up for every one of them that I could go to. And in the process, it really taught me how to teach. And then through that, I really started to love teaching. And now I know I'm on this earth to teach, pretty much. So that's why I became a teacher.
That's awesome. And because you've already had all of that experience teaching all over the world and everything, it's this great extra perspective to your teaching.
Yeah. And just, acceptance of everybody, because everybody's different, but living in other people's culture, you really get to know them, and you realize, oh, everything isn't about America. So that's been kind of fun too.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. All right. So why did you make the transition into becoming an online math tutor?
So I taught for 30 years, 20 in high school and 10 at a community college. And then after those 10 years at a community college, I wanted to get back into high school. And nobody would hire me because I was too expensive. and I was older and they wanted young, cheap people. So then I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do? Because I love teaching so much. I'm just not going to give it up. And I thought, well, I could do tutoring again. And then somebody mentioned to me online tutoring. So then I went looking on YouTube, and that's how I found Joanne Kaminsky. And then that began, and it was just been a huge experiment for me, learning everything to do online. And I just love tutoring because it's one-on-one. You only have one learning style you have to work with at a time, and it's been really rewarding.
Definitely. Yeah. And your students have probably faced like a variety of challenges, each different one that you tutor. So what are some of the challenges that your students have faced?
Well, you know, one of them that I hit across a lot is people thinking they're not good at math. And I have a lot of students that come to me and they're like, oh, I can't do the math. There's no way. I don't understand anything. And I know in my heart, when I first meet students, I know they can do the math because I've never met a student in 30 years that couldn't learn the math. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be, you know, Albert Einstein, but everybody can learn it, especially if you get taught in the way you learn best. So if you're a very kinetic learner, well, then if you teach them kinetically how to figure out stuff, then it becomes easy for them. And so that's kind of the beauty of this online tutoring. You can teach to their style, and you can really help them build up to get some confidence. The other thing is, and I'm working on this with all my students, is, you know, start talking positively about yourself when you do math. And, you know, they're like, oh, that's ridiculous. But every time you get something right in a math problem, you should be cheering for yourself. And I know you can picture me cheering. So I do the cheering for them at the beginning. But then I'm like, okay, you got this problem right. Are you cheering to yourself inside your head? And they're like, yeah, I am. And that's how you build up confidence. And once you start having confidence, you can start doing the math. I mean, I've never met a student that couldn't.
Yeah, I know my problem in high school and college definitely was that confidence in math. And of course, feeling like I couldn't learn it the way the teachers were explaining it to me.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing, right? You have to get someone that can explain it to you the way you understand it. You know, even if you have confidence, you've got to have someone explain it to you. So, yeah, but that's the beauty of the online tutoring, to get that extra help.
Right. And you use some really neat tools that help enhance the learning, don't you?
Yeah, I really love using a shared whiteboard where we can both write on doing the problems at the same time, because that's really vital for math. You have to see them in action and see how they work a problem to see how they're thinking about stuff. So I use a shared whiteboard that's called Bit Paper. And basically you can bring in handouts and text and anything you want. And then we can work problems and look at problems in there. And we can both write on the board. At the end of the session, we can send it back to them so they can keep all the notes. It's really great. That's probably the tool I use the most.
Oh, that does sound awesome to be able to. I know with writing, I like to be able to interact and work on it at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. I know other math teachers that like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the successes you've had with your students?
Well, I'll tell you about the one I had this last year tutoring because it was so great. Building again on that confidence one, I had a student that came to me, I think around December, and he was in an honors geometry class. And he came to me, he was so dejected, like, I can't do anything in this class. I know everybody thinks I'm the dumbest one in this class, because he had some holes in his background in math before that. And that was preventing him from learning the new stuff. And so I worked with them just quickly to fill in those holes. And as soon as I did, it was like this jet soaring off, taking off by himself. And so once we got him that confidence and we filled in the holes, well, he became braver in class. One day I asked him, well, what's new in class? So nothing, but I did raise my hand and answer a question in class. And I said, well, have you ever done that before? And he said, no, I've never done that in class. And everybody laughed at me when I did it because they thought I wouldn't get it right, but I got it right. I was like, yes. And then another time, as we kept going through the year, I kept building and building. And another time I'd say, because I always ask him what's new in class, he'd say, well, nothing again. He said, but I did go to the board and write the full solution to something. You know, and if you're shy or you feel not confident about yourself, you're not going to go to the board and share anything up there, let alone how to do a whole math problem. So that was just like a huge thing. And then the best part, it just kept building like that. And then at the end of the year, well, maybe a month or two before the end, he said, well, we have a new seating chart today. And he said, I looked around me, front and back and sideways, and I've always been seated next to the smart one. And I don't see any smart ones around me. And I said, well, what do you think that means? And he goes, well, I must be the smart one. I'm like, yes, my job here, it's almost done now. So that was just a great story that I love, that he got that confidence. And now he believes he can do any math, which is, he can with a little bit of studying. So.
Oh my goodness. I love how you were able to kind of just build that up with every little achievement he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he recognized each little achievement.
Well, because I wouldn't let him not recognize it.
I know that about you.
Every time he said something, I'd cheer for him too. That's just my personality, you know.
Yes.
And I do think in building confidence is important.
Oh, yeah. With learning anything, but I think so many people have math. I know you describe it as math anxiety.
Right.
Yeah. And I know you have a series coming out on math anxiety.
Yeah, I'm just starting a video series where I'm going to talk about ways to overcome math anxiety, because that's probably the number one thing I get asked about as a tutor. Like I have math anxiety, how will I ever get over it? So I'm going to start a many-part series to talk about this, just because it's such an important issue. And of course, one of the ways is the positive self-talk. That will be my first video coming out this week on positive self-talk. But I have over 30 years, I've tried so many things to get people over math anxiety. And most of the anxiety is when it's time to take a quiz or a test. Like maybe they understood it all along, and then the test comes and they just draw a blank. So I'm going to talk about that and the different ways they can come over that. And I have a lot of things. I have a lot of strategies just math-wise, but also just for any test, you know, to get calm before your test is a good thing. Even just as simple as breathing 3 times deeply before you take the test. Or, and these sound crazy, but they actually work. One of them is to take a peppermint or drink peppermint tea, because there's been research done that shows peppermint actually calms you down. So if you take it 15 or 20 minutes, and I used to do this in my college classes, I'd hand out peppermints like as soon as they came in, and they did calm down. I mean, I don't know if that was because they were eating candy or the peppermint, but it seemed like it worked. And then the other one, just for any test, is if you're really nervous, take out a piece of paper before the test and write down everything you're afraid of. Like, I'm going to fail. The questions are too hard. I'm not going to remember it. Write out all your fears. And then after you get done writing it, you crumple it up and you throw it in the trash. And I know that sounds crazy, but it gets your fears out. You throw it away so they're not there. And kids tell me, students have told me, it really helps. And that you can use for any test, not just math tests.
Oh, definitely.
In the video series.
Oh, Sonia's saying that she loves the peppermint.
I know, it really works.
That
People think I'm crazy when I say that, but there is research that people actually do to prove that. I
did Tic Tacs. I'd get the spearmint Tic Tacs.
There you go.
I didn't know that mint actually helped relax you. I just was nervous and I just wanted something. So
yeah. See, you were smarter than the research even.
I guess so.
That's awesome.
Oh, great. Okay, so that's the math anxiety. What other advice do you have for students learning math?
So if you're having trouble learning math, this is for college too. You know, if you're having trouble, you just need to go get that help. And I really recommend, especially in college, if you have the time, and you can make it work, go to the professor or the instructor and ask them personally for help. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is the instructor's going to know that you really care about this class because you're asking. And then number 2, and this is kind of a teacher help thing that I know, sometimes when it's close to a test or a quiz and a student comes in, I may slip a few extra hints about what's going to be on the test. So that's another really smart reason. I shouldn't let that out, but it's true. Because the teachers have already made the test like a week or 2 before, so they know what's on there. So don't be afraid. Just go to your instructor. They have time set up that you can go in there and get that help. And even in high school, same deal. Just ask the teacher if you can come in after school or before school and just get that extra help. That's maybe the number one thing, because the other thing is if you go in and you're like, I don't really understand what's happening in class, you're going to force the instructor to have to explain it to you another way. Like maybe you didn't understand the way he did it in class, and maybe he can come up with a different way for you to see it if you're one-on-one with the instructor. So.
Oh, wow. I'd never thought of that. I wish I thought of these when I took college math. And you have a few comments here. Oh, Denise loves the throwing the fears away, tearing them up and everything. And Sonia just loves all of the tips on how to manage math anxiety.
Yeah, it's real.
Yes. And she says she's been waking up to watch your videos.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's been emphasizing to students to communicate with these teachers. So,
awesome.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, so your videos give really good, valuable tips.
Because teachers can be scary things if you're a student and you're trying to get a good grade and you're nervous. But, when you go, because you taught too, that when you go talk to them, they're not so scary anymore. And they're going to relate to what you're going through and try to help you out. So.
Yeah, but it is hard to overcome that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like in your tutoring, you're able to do that. You're
they're forced to one-on-one. They don't have nowhere to hide, right?
Right, and you get them to really talk about it and
yes, definitely
work through it.
The other big strategy that I could throw out right now, if this is college or high school, is form a study group. Like people think they shouldn't be in a study group. They should be able to figure it all out on their own. But if you're struggling and you're having trouble, if you get in a study group, again, the idea of making something smaller than the class. So, okay, you're in a class of 30 or 50 or 100. Well, you get a study group of 5 or 6 people. Well, chances are somebody there is going to be able to relate the information to you in a way that you understand. So I highly recommend study groups and pick the smart people in class. Now, I have a quick story about this. I never used study groups because I thought I could always do math. But I was in my senior year of college, and I hit this math theory class, and I was like, it's just high-flying jets past me. I had no idea what was going on. So I forced myself to make a group and have people come help me. And it was really, my pride took a hit. But then as soon as I realized, oh, okay, I can really figure this out with their help, then it was like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner? So think about forming study groups. See, that's my other big hint.
Oh, that is a good one. Yeah, because you're all teaching each other and yeah.
And even in your writing, that would be a good tactic for them to try. If they got in a group where other people could read what you're writing, that can be a big help for feedback. So.
Oh yeah, I do that a lot with writing groups. I always recommend that. It's really being able to get other people's viewpoints and have them explain something in a different way, just like you were talking about with math, is so helpful and insightful.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So what are some resources you recommend for students in high school or college?
Well, some of the good ones that we all know about is Khan Academy, of course. That's great for overviews. There isn't a ton of problems there, but you can watch videos to see how to do stuff. And they're pretty good about their explanations. For the most part, they're pretty down to earth. And I've seen the range. I've looked at it from 5th grade through college algebra, and those are pretty good videos. The practice isn't so much practice. I mean, there's a few problems, but not enough to get good at them. But Khan Academy, definitely for videos. And then, you can go online now and get practice problems. That's easy. You just write in the topic and what class you're in. And for me, I always do PDF so that I get something easy to look at that I can print out if I want to. And those usually have answers to them. So that's why I like that. And then there's another one called purplemath.com. And that has all the algebra and geometry in it. And it's just a nice resource if you're trying to figure things out. I kind of don't recommend YouTube unless you have a specific person that you like, because I've watched a lot of math videos trying to come up with my own, and there's really great ones and there's really horrible ones that have the explanation like all wrong, that won't work all the way down the line of the math. So just be careful on Facebook that you pick people that are experienced at it, I guess.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess so, because there are a lot of things on YouTube and you don't always know if you trust almost by instinct that person knows exactly how to solve it.
But you can check out like their website and see if they've done this before. And that's a quick check because most people put that in the description. under the YouTube, so you can check pretty quickly if they actually know anything about what they're talking about. You know, if you go in there and you don't know what's happening in the first place, you may not be able to tell if they know what they're doing or not. But I'm telling you, as a math teacher, I've looked at a lot of them and the math's wrong. So just be careful.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just saying.
Okay, but if they watch your videos, the math is always right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'll say that and something will be wrong and I'll find out. But at least I know what I'm talking about.
Well, when I watch your videos, I won't pick up anything that's wrong. But I love your videos because they make learning math fun. You know, there's a real fun aspect to your videos that I appreciate.
Well, and that's something I always stress in class. And when I tutor, it's like, you know, I usually start by saying, you know, this is only math. That's all it is. We don't need to be scared about it. I know it's a big, scary topic, but I'm not going to hurt you. It's just math, just to calm them down. So yeah, I try to make math as fun as I can. You know, it doesn't have to be scary, you know, and people get afraid of showing their mistakes. And I'm like, well, you know what, if you're like a basketball star, do you make every basket you ever shoot? No. And do they sit there and beat themselves up because they missed a basket? No. Every time they make the basket, they cheer for themselves. So there you go. I'm back to my positive talk again.
That's a great analogy.
Takes a lot of practice to do math.
Yes. Oh, well, that's fantastic. So I think you've created like a free resource. Do you have something on your website that people can use to help them?
I do. Like, it's all a theme here today, but it's 16 ways to build confidence in your math student. So yeah, I put down all the things that I knew that worked the best to build your confidence up.
Oh, well,
it goes through things like the positive self-talk, but also things like, how do you do a review for a math test, and how do you do it to make the best use of it, and for you to actually figure out how to do everything correctly. So I go through step by step how to do things like that, because a lot of people don't know how to study for math. They'll just look at the problem and go, okay, I can do that. I can see what they're doing. But seeing how to do it and actually doing it yourself are two different ball games. So yeah, there's tips like that in there too.
Now,
yes, if you go to my website and sign up for the newsletter, you'll get the freebie, right?
Okay. That's usually how it works. Yes. Yeah. And of course, they'll get on your great newsletter.
That's right.
Yeah. And so now I know you've taught all of those subjects, algebra and geometry and trigonometry. And you also have tutored SAT math. So what are the subject areas that people can get help in?
So, you know, the SAT prep is kind of a different ballgame because you're learning how to take a test. That's maybe, and not just any test, you're learning how to take the SAT test. And there's certain quirks with the SAT that you can learn how they set up things, and you can raise your score just by following some simple test taking strategies. And then, so when I help people, I can help you with the math and fill in the holes. But really what I want to do is shine what you know best and getting that. So when you hit those problems that you already know how to do math, that you can figure out the SAT talk and get to the right answer every time. And that really helps build up your score the best. If you're someone trying to get 800 out of 800, well, then we're going to talk some math too. You know, but I don't, at least with the SAT, I'm not necessarily trying to teach them all the new concepts, because if they're taking it soon, they're not really going to learn those concepts very well by the time they take it. So I try to reinforce and really practice with actual SAT problems so that they can get the flavor of what it looks like. So when they see the problem, they go, okay, this is what SAT wants me to do now. And then they can do much better on the test. So.
Right. Do you do a math assessment with them?
I actually, when they first start with me, I have them take one of the practice tests. And then I have resources let me know what they miss and what the categories are within the SAT, within the math concepts, what they're not understanding very well. And then I'll go and head back to those problems and find more practice for them. So there's like 8 practice tests out there. So there's plenty of time and plenty of tests to study a lot, practice a lot, and then also take the test fresh. So like we may talk for, 4 hours, and then I'll have them take another practice test and see where they're at. Then we'll practice some more and take another practice test. It's really just about taking the practice again with the SAT.
So it is a very different approach.
It's different than math concepts, right?
Yeah. So with math concepts, how do you determine what you're going to?
If I have a student in a class, well, I mean, I've taught for 30 years, so I've taught these classes a million times. So I pretty much know. I don't have to do any background stuff to get ready for the tutoring. I just know. And when I start working with kids, because I've probably worked with thousands of kids before, I can catch on pretty quick where their issues are. And I'll send, I mean, I don't have an official assessment. I just let them get started and I'll bring up problems and see how they're doing. And I can tell pretty quickly where the issue is, if it's like factoring or they don't know how to do fractions or whatever the issue is. So for me, I don't have to have an assessment, but you know, some people need an assessment to tell really quickly what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds like I'm bragging, but it's just because I've taught it so long that I don't need to do an assessment.
No. I've taught writing for 18 years now. So
there you go.
I have a similar approach with writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So do we have any questions for Terri here in the chat? Oh, you've got a lot of comments here. Let's see. Joy Ruffin Duke. Hello, ladies. I'm new to you and happy to be connected. Oh, nice. It's nice to meet you, Joy.
Absolutely. Welcome aboard.
Oh, and that's what we want for it to be fun and easy as possible. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do want that with math. All right. So if you have questions for Terri, please just post them in the chat, even if you're on the replay, and we'll get back to those questions later. Now, Terri, how could people get in touch with you if they want to know more about tutoring or just get in touch with you to find out some of your resources?
Well, there's a couple places. They can go to my website, www.tagtutoring.com, or you can go to my Facebook page at, you'll be surprised, Tag Tutoring, Shock of Shocks. And there's a way to contact me there too. So website's probably the best, but you can get me through Facebook too.
Okay. And I will post the website in the description and in the chat after this.
Thank you.
After we conclude. All right. Okay. So I think that's all for today. I don't see any other questions. So thank you, Terri.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. You guys, you can do math. Just do it.
Oh, well, I wish I had believed that growing up. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And, okay. And thanks to everybody else who's watching. And cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.